Hello, in this video we will show how to remove a kitchen sink, disposal, and dishwasher. The next step in removing the sink is as follows. First we're going to close the shutoff valves for the two supply lines at the sink. Make sure they're good and tight. These valves are not designed for repeated use, so typically you'll find that they may leak a little bit, and if so, you're going to want to be prepared with how you're going to deal with water. If your house is a remodel and you don't want to leave water dripping in the house, you'll need to find the main shutoff valve or some other way of keeping the water from leaking after these valves are attempted to be shut off. This valve here is the valve for our dishwasher, and if we're going to be removing the dishwasher, now would be a good time to close that valve and probably disconnect the feed line for the dishwasher. So we would go ahead and close that valve. And since we're working right here, we could go ahead, take a wrench, and remove the water line from the downstream side of that valve. The other disconnection that's necessary for the dishwasher is the dishwasher discharge line, which is this flexible plastic line back here, and it empties into the top of this PVC standpipe. So you can pull that out of the top of the standpipe, remove any brackets that may be holding it, and prepare the two dishwasher lines to be routed back through the hole into the cabinet where the dishwasher is. Also under the sink you'll find one or two electrical connections. You'll always see one for the disposal and you may see one for the dishwasher. In this case it's easy to disconnect our disposal, we just unplug it. In some installations you'll also find a separate plug for the dishwasher, and that can be unplugged as well. In other cases, you'll find the appliances are hardwired. You'll need to check and make sure that those circuits are de-energized, and then either disconnect the wiring or just cut through it with a heavy pit or wire cutters. Since we didn't find the dishwasher wiring in the sink, we know that it's connected under the dishwasher, and we'll find it when we actually pull the dishwasher part way out later on. The final steps under the sink are to disconnect the two supply lines and the discharge line so that the sink can be lifted out. We'll disconnect the two nuts here for the supply lines, or in fact we could merely take a hacksaw and cut those lines if that was more expedient or the nuts were hard to reach or difficult to turn. And on the discharge side we're going to find the trap. We're going to loosen these two nuts. These are always hand tightened, so you shouldn't have a hard time with them. The trap will come out. And that trap's going to be full of water, so we need to take it away carefully and dump that somewhere away from the site so we don't make a mess. And now we should be ready to lift out the sink. The electrical connections to the disposal are broken, the water lines are disconnected, the discharge is disconnected, and in fact our dishwasher is ready to come out as well. All we'll need to do now is lift out the sink with the garbage disposal still attached. Now if it's a stainless steel sink, the sink's going to be attached to the bottom of the countertop with as many as a dozen of these screw clamps. You'll need to get a slotted screwdriver up there, turn these screws, and take the clamp and swing it around until it's no longer clipped under the edge of the countertop. You'll have to do that all the way around the sink before you'll be able to remove that sink from the top of the countertop. Now to remove the sink from the countertop, you'll need to remember that all sinks, whether they're stainless or they're porcelain sinks on cast iron, are going to be caulked under the edge of the lip. And the caulking can have tremendous strength. So the first thing you probably want to do is to crawl back under the cupboard and, using something other than a tool, definitely not a hammer, give the bottom of the sink a good thump. I like to just use my foot and give it a kick and see if the sink will just pop out. Oftentimes it does. Now if the sink didn't pop out easily, you're going to need to reach under the lip of that and manage to cut that caulk. The only tool that we recommend for doing that is a broad, flat putty knife. The putty knife is stiff enough that you can drive it under the edge, and it's thin enough that you can get it under there without bending the metal, or in the case of a porcelain sink, without chipping the porcelain. So take your putty knife, a hammer, keep the putty knife down and flat, go work your way all the way around the sink, drive it in enough to cut the caulk, and then you find you should be able to lift the sink directly out. Now to remove the dishwasher, you're going to need to make sure you've disconnected the water source and the drain tube from under the sink, as we discussed earlier. You're also going to need to make sure that the dishwasher has no electrical power to it. The easiest way to check that is to try and start the dishwasher. In this case, we can see a small light has come on. It means we still have power, so we'll have to deal with that somewhere else, typically at the fuse box or circuit breaker box, and make sure that circuit is disconnected. The next thing we'll want to do is remove the access panel at the bottom front of the dishwasher. You'll find 2 screws, one at each corner. Just remove these screws. And pull the panel out. Underneath the dishwasher we can see the water supply line, the connection on the left side in this case, and further back I can see the electrical supply line, which is a hardwired connection. Now if you can reach it easily, now might be a good time to disconnect that water line and maybe the electrical. However, if you've made a disconnection on the other end of the water line previously from under the sink, it's probably not necessary to disconnect it under the dishwasher as well. Final step in removing the dishwasher is to open the door and look up under the edge of the counter where you'll see 2 tabs with screws screwed up into the bottom of the counter. We're going to remove these 2 screws. Now all that's required is to slide the dishwasher out. The easiest way to do that is to close the door and let it latch. Reach under the lip, walk the dishwasher out. If the dishwasher doesn't slide out easily, you may be able to shorten the adjusting legs on the front corners. This may also be necessary in the case of a house that's been remodeled where a new floor has been added over an old floor and has raised the level of the subfloor up so that the dishwasher has to be shortened in order to come out. In severe cases, you may actually need to remove a portion of the floor. Occasionally we'll find high-end dishwashers, the European Bosch washers for example, that have mounting screws through the side of the door frame. And there may be a small plastic plug in this area. You pop the plug out, look in there, and you'll find a screw that goes into the side of the cabinet. So if it doesn't come out after removing the 2 clips under the counter, look for screws in the side frame.